The galaxy rejected them, yet humanity opened its arms. A cluster of ships drifted on the edge of the sensor range, their hulls battered and dimly lit. They were unlike anything Alara had seen before. "Captain, these are not human or any known galactic vessels," said Lieutenant Malik, his eyes wide as he monitored the readings. "I'm detecting signs of damage and life support at minimal levels." Alara's brow furrowed. "Get me a visual. I want to know who they are before making any calls." The main screen flickered, revealing the ships. They were elegant but fragile-looking, with elongated hulls that glowed faintly with a blue hue. Strange markings etched across their sides seemed almost alive, pulsing gently. There was an air of desperation about them, as if the vessels themselves were pleading for help. "They're moving toward us," Malik said, uncertainty in his voice. "But they're drifting, not navigating properly. Something is wrong." Alara leaned forward. "Open a communication channel. Let's see if they can respond." Static filled the speakers before a voice spoke, soft, melodic, and full of sorrow. It was a language she could not understand. But somehow in the tone and the cadence, Alara felt the weight of suffering. These were not aggressors, they were refugees. "Translate," she ordered. The ship's AI struggled to interpret, but fragments came through. The words were broken, halting, but the message was clear. "We seek refuge, dying, need help." Alara felt a chill. She turned to her officers. "The galaxy has its rules. Some races might see them as trouble. But we cannot ignore them. They are alive and in need. We have a choice to make." Her heart raced. The Galactic Concord, a powerful council of alien civilizations, had strict laws. Most races would not help. They would enforce isolation, punishment, or worse. But humanity was different. Humans had always valued compassion, courage, and action over blind rules. "Captain," said Dr. Anya Wren, the ship's xenobiologist, "I think they are Zithurians, a rare species known to travel in clusters of bioengineered vessels. If they are what I think, they've been exiled. The Concord does not allow them near any habitable systems." Alara's eyes softened. "Exiled or not, that doesn't matter. They are in danger, and we are the only ones who can help right now." She activated the ship's long-range beacon, sending a signal inviting the Zithurians to land on Terra Nova, humanity's main frontier colony. It was risky. Other human colonies were skeptical of outsiders, especially those with unknown intentions. Some feared betrayal, others feared disease, and a few feared political complications. But Alara believed that fear could never outweigh morality. Hours passed as the Zithurian vessels slowly approached. Their ships moved with an almost graceful fragility, as if the slightest misstep could shatter them. The crew of the Horizon watched anxiously, ready to offer aid in any form, towing, repairs, or medical support. Finally, the Zithurian ships landed on the landing docks of Terra Nova. The airlock doors opened, revealing beings unlike any humans had ever seen. They were tall, slender, with skin that shimmered in faint shades of violet and silver. Their eyes were large, luminous, and full of intelligence, but also pain and fear. One of them stepped forward. Alara observed carefully. The being raised a hand in what seemed to be a gesture of peace. Its voice was calm, and though the translator rendered the words unevenly, the meaning was clear. "We seek a safe home." The humans moved cautiously but without hostility. Dr. Wren stepped forward with medical equipment and supplies. She spoke in soft, reassuring tones, offering help. One Zithurian collapsed onto the platform, exhausted, and the humans acted immediately, providing oxygen, food, and medical attention. The rest of the Zithurians watched from their ships, wary and tense. Alara approached them slowly, hands open in a gesture of trust. "You are safe here," she said. "We will help you. You have nothing to fear from us." A murmur of relief spread among the Zithurians. Slowly, carefully, they began to disembark, guided by human officers. Despite their exhaustion, there was a glimmer of hope in their movements. Meanwhile, news of the arrival spread quickly across Terra Nova. Many colonists gathered to witness the scene. Some were curious, some fearful, but most were quietly supportive. Humanity had a reputation in the galaxy for embracing what others shunned, and this moment was a living proof of that philosophy. Alara and her team helped the Zithurians settle into temporary shelters. They provided nourishment, medical care, and a safe place to rest. As night fell, the Zithurians gathered outside, looking up at the stars. Their eyes were filled with wonder and something they had not felt for a long time: safety. Dr. Wren knelt beside one of the Zithurians, gently examining a minor injury. "You're going to be okay," she assured softly. The being nodded, its face expressing gratitude in a way that words could not capture. Alara stood on a platform overlooking the scene. She spoke quietly to herself, though her voice carried through the comms. "The galaxy may reject them, but humanity will not. We do not turn our backs on those in need. This is who we are." For the first time, the Zithurians began to believe that perhaps not all civilizations were cruel or indifferent. Perhaps some, like humanity, were willing to open their arms without conditions, to offer hope where others saw despair. But even as relief and gratitude spread, Alara knew challenges lay ahead. The Zithurians were outsiders, and many in the galaxy would not understand humanity's choice. Political pressure could come at any moment, and the Zithurians' mistrust of outsiders was deep. Building trust and security would take patience, courage, and wisdom. Still, as she looked at the Zithurians resting under the artificial lights of Terra Nova, Alara smiled faintly. Humanity had made its choice. They had opened their arms, and for now, that was enough. In the quiet of the night, the stars above shone brighter than ever. Somewhere out there, the rest of the galaxy watched and whispered, curious, wary, maybe even envious. Humanity had done something remarkable, something the galaxy had not expected, and the Zithurians, exhausted but alive, finally felt the warmth of kindness. For the first time in countless years, hope began to grow. The morning on Terra Nova dawned cold but clear. The air carried the scent of metal and ozone from the spaceport, mixing with the aroma of freshly grown plants in the biodomes. Humans and Zithurians alike moved among the temporary shelters, learning to coexist in ways that were unfamiliar and sometimes uncomfortable. Captain Alara Voss walked through the encampment with Dr. Anya Wren at her side, observing the interactions. Humans offered water, food, and medical attention, while Zithurians observed each gesture cautiously, their luminous eyes filled with both curiosity and skepticism. "Some of them are still frightened," Dr. Wren noted. "They've been betrayed so many times by other races." "Their trust doesn't come easily," Alara nodded. "I know, but fear can't rule them forever. We just have to be patient and consistent. Every small act of care builds trust." Despite humanity's best efforts, challenges quickly appeared. The Zithurians had different customs, habits, and even body language, which led to misunderstandings. One human officer offered a hand in greeting, and the Zithurian recoiled, perceiving it as a threat. Another human approached a Zithurian's resting place to help adjust medical equipment, and the Zithurian hissed, retreating in fear. Lieutenant Malik approached Alara with a worried expression. "Captain there?" Unpredictable. "Some are cooperating, but others are avoiding contact entirely. They might leave if we push too hard." Alara took a deep breath. "We have to earn their trust, not demand it. Let's focus on small victories, shared tasks, simple gestures. Every positive interaction counts." One of the first projects they undertook was repairing Zithurian ships. The humans had extensive engineering skills, and many of the Zithurian vessels were damaged beyond their own repair capabilities. Teams of humans and Zithurians worked side by side in the shipyards, sometimes awkwardly but slowly learning each other's methods. A young Zithurian named Lyra caught Alara's attention. She was small, frail, and hesitant, but determined. Lyra struggled with the human tools at first, but under Dr. Wren's gentle guidance she began to adapt. "You have patience," Lyra said softly, her voice translated through the device. "Most humans impatient. You calm," Alara smiled. "We know it takes time. We're not here to rush anyone. We're here to help." Meanwhile, tensions were growing outside the encampment. Some humans in Terra Nova were wary of the Zithurians, questioning the wisdom of sheltering them. A few colonists gathered to discuss potential threats. "They could be spies," one colonist argued. "We don't know why the Conquered expelled them. How do we know they're not dangerous?" Alara overheard the conversation and approached calmly. "We've studied the evidence. They are refugees, not criminals. We cannot judge them by what others said. Humanity does not turn away those in need. Trust is earned, yes, but we start with compassion." Her words spread slowly through the colony. Many humans admired her courage, but doubt lingered in some hearts. Alara understood that skepticism was natural. Change was never easy, especially when it challenged long-held beliefs. A crisis soon tested the fragile peace. A small group of Zithurians attempted to access restricted human supplies without permission. They believed humans were hoarding resources, unaware of the careful planning and sharing already in place. When confronted, the Zethurians reacted defensively, misunderstanding human intentions. Alara acted quickly. "We are not enemies," she said firmly, addressing both humans and Zethurians. "We share everything. No one is taking from anyone. We work together, not against each other. Let's fix this with understanding, not anger." Doctor. Ren mediated between the two sides, demonstrating how resources were being distributed fairly. The Zethurians slowly realized that humans were not deceiving them, while humans learned to respect Zethurian caution. By evening, cooperation had begun to grow stronger. Humans and Zethurians shared meals under the open sky, exchanging stories about home, culture, and past struggles. Laughter, tentative at first, began to fill the air. Alara stood on a balcony overlooking the encampment, reflecting on the day's events. She knew that building trust would not be quick. The Zethurians carried deep scars, and the galaxy outside was watching with judgment and suspicion. Yet small moments like these, shared work, shared food, shared understanding, were slowly bridging the gap. Even the Zethurian leaders began to notice. Orion, the eldest among them, approached Alara. "Your people unusual, others rejected us, but you offer help without demand. Why?" Alara smiled gently. "Because it's the right thing to do. The galaxy may follow rules and politics, but humans follow something stronger, empathy. We cannot ignore suffering, and sometimes doing the right thing means standing apart from the rest." Orion's eyes glimmered. "Perhaps there is hope here, perhaps." As days turned into weeks, joint projects became the norm. Humans taught Zethurians simple survival techniques adapted for Terra Nova's climate. Zethurians shared their knowledge of advanced technology, helping humans enhance energy systems and medical equipment. The cooperation was tentative but real, yet outside forces remained a looming threat. The Galactic Concord, which had once exiled the Zethurians, watched Terra Nova with keen interest. Envoys from other races contacted human authorities, some with concern, others with veiled threats. They warned humanity not to interfere in galactic matters. Alara received one such message. The holographic image of a conquered envoy flickered in front of her. "Captain Voss," the envoy said, their tone cold and formal, "the Zethurians were removed from the Concord for serious violations. We advise that your people do not interfere. Allow them to return or face consequences." Alara's jaw tightened. "They are refugees, not criminals. You may see them as violators, but humanity sees them as beings in need. We will not abandon them." The envoy's eyes narrowed. "Humanity may find itself alone in this choice. Beware the consequences." The transmission ended, leaving Alara with a heavy weight on her shoulders. She turned to her officers. "They may try to intimidate us, but we will not be swayed by threats. We do what is right, not what is safe." Inside the encampment, another challenge arose. Some Zethurians were struggling with basic human routines. Sleep cycles, diet, and social customs were foreign to them. Minor conflicts flared, misunderstandings multiplied, and patience was tested. Dr. Wren worked tirelessly, guiding Zethurians through the new environment. "We understand this is hard," she said kindly. "Change is never easy, but together we can find balance." Slowly, the Zethurians began to adapt. They learned to eat human-prepared food, to respect personal space, and to communicate more openly. Humans, in turn, learned to read subtle Zethurian expressions, gestures, and tones, discovering new ways to connect. One evening, a young human child approached Lyra, the frail Zethurian girl. "Do you want to see the stars from here?" the child asked, pointing to a hill overlooking the colony. Lyra hesitated, then nodded. Together, they climbed the hill, gazing at the sparkling universe above. For a moment, words were not needed. They shared a quiet understanding. Despite differences, despite fear, there was beauty in connection. Alara watched from a distance, heart swelling with hope. Humanity's choice had not been easy. Challenges, mistrust, and cultural differences had tested them daily. Yet in small, quiet victories, shared meals, repaired ships, mutual learning, the seeds of trust were taking root. She knew that the road ahead would not be simple. The galaxy's judgment hung over them like a shadow, and the Zethurians' past traumas could erupt at any moment. But humanity had shown what made them different: courage, compassion, and the willingness to embrace those whom others rejected. As night fell, Terra Nova glowed with lights of hope. Humans and Zethurians alike rested under the twin moons, weary but growing closer. The fractures of distrust were slowly mending, replaced with tentative trust and shared purpose. Alara whispered softly, almost to herself, "We cannot control the galaxy, but we can control what we do. And what we do is this: we open our arms no matter who the galaxy rejects." In the quiet darkness, the Zethurians dreamt of safety, humans dreamt of unity, and the universe seemed, for the first time, to notice that something remarkable was unfolding on Terra Nova. A new model of hope, courage, and understanding, one that might one day change the galaxy. Forever, the weeks passed slowly, but the bonds between humans and Zethurians strengthened. Work on the damaged ships continued, shared meals and conversation became routine, and small gestures of trust grew into meaningful connections. Yet beneath the growing hope, a shadow lingered, one that the galaxy itself had cast. Captain Alara Voss sat in the command center of Terra Nova, reviewing communications from distant colonies. The Galactic Concord's messages were becoming more insistent. Envoys warned humanity that their protection of the Zethurians could have serious consequences. But Alara remained resolute. "We do not abandon those in need," she reminded her officers firmly. "We have seen their suffering. We have seen the betrayal they endured. That is enough for us to act. Threats will not sway us." Her first officer, Lieutenant Malik, frowned. "Captain, some of the Zethurians are still wary. They don't trust us fully, and now they hear that the Conquered is watching. Their fear might return stronger than ever." Alara nodded. "Then we must prove to them, not just by words, but by action. They need to know that humanity will stand with them, even when the galaxy does not." Meanwhile, Dr. Anya Wren uncovered something troubling. While scanning the Zethurians' old data archives, she discovered records of their exile, records that had been manipulated and falsified. The Zethurians had been blamed for a sabotage incident involving a Conquered warship, but the evidence was inconsistent, contradictory, and in some cases clearly altered. "Captain," Dr. Wren said, her voice tense as she reviewed the files. "They were not responsible for what the Conquered claims. Someone deliberately framed them." Alara's eyes narrowed. "Then the real question is who and why?" Before she could ponder further, Ariane, the elder Zethurian leader, requested a private meeting. Alara agreed, curious and cautious. In a quiet chamber overlooking the colony, Ariane spoke. "Captain Voss, our past is heavy with lies. We were cast out, labeled criminals, but we did not betray anyone. Some among the Conquered wanted us gone for reasons we cannot fully understand." Alara leaned forward. "We've discovered inconsistencies in your records. Someone altered evidence against you. Humanity will help uncover the truth." Ariane's eyes widened with a mixture of hope and disbelief. You would do this for us, even when the galaxy, the Conquered, might oppose it?" Alara's voice was firm. "We act on what is right, not on what is easy. You were wronged. We will find proof and restore your name." The task was not simple. The Conquered was vast, its bureaucracy layered with secrecy and influence. But humanity had something the Conquered often underestimated: ingenuity, persistence, and unpredictability. Alara assembled a team of human specialists, engineers, analysts, diplomats, and historians. Together with Zethurian experts, they began a careful investigation into the sabotage incident. Slowly, piece by piece, inconsistencies emerged. Dates did not align, witness statements contradicted one another, and digital logs showed evidence of tampering. One breakthrough came when Lyra, the young Zethurian girl who had been learning human techniques, discovered a hidden transmission buried deep in the records. It contained messages from a high-ranking Conquered officer instructing that blame be shifted to the Zethurians to remove them from influence in the sector. This is proof," Lyra exclaimed, her eyes shining. "We were framed." Alara placed a hand on her shoulder. "Yes. And now we have the evidence to show the galaxy the truth." However, even as they uncovered the conspiracy, tension grew among the Zethurians. Some elders feared that exposing the truth could bring retaliation from the Conquered, endangering their people and humans alike. Others, however, believed that reclaiming their honor was worth the risk. Ariane approached Alara privately. "Captain, the others are scared. They have lived under betrayal for so long, they do not know how to trust again. Can your people truly protect us if the Conquered acts against us?" Alara looked him in the eyes. "We may be outnumbered, but we are not powerless. Humans will stand with you. You've already seen what we do for those in need, and we will not abandon you now." Her words reassured some Zethurians, while others remained cautious. Trust was growing, but it was fragile. The situation escalated when a conquered envoy arrived near Terra Nova, signaling intent to communicate directly. The human authorities were wary, but Alara agreed to a meeting under strict protocols. The envoy, a tall and imposing figure, spoke with cold precision. "Captain Voss," the envoy said, "your protection of the Zithurians is an interference in conquered affairs. Return them immediately or face consequences. Their exile is final. You risk your colony and people by harboring them." Alara's voice was calm but firm. "They are refugees, they were wronged, and we will not return them to danger. We act on what is just, not what is convenient." The envoy's eyes narrowed. "You are naive. The conquered does not forgive mistakes. You will regret this decision." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Alara with a sense of looming challenge. Yet she was undeterred. Humanity had always embraced risks to protect the innocent. And now that courage was needed more than ever. In the following days, humans and Zithurians worked together to prepare for possible interference. They fortified the colony, upgraded defensive systems, and trained joint teams in strategy and emergency response. The Zithurians, while still cautious, began to see the humans not just as allies, but as partners willing to fight for their survival. Amid these preparations, life continued in small, meaningful ways. Children from both species played together under careful supervision. Engineers shared meals, laughing over mistakes and successes alike. Doctors and scientists exchanged knowledge, discovering new ways to combine human adaptability with Zithurian technology. Yet, shadows of the past remained. Some Zithurians suffered from nightmares, reliving moments of betrayal, exile, and loss. Humans, sensing their distress, offered support. They held councils where Zithurians could speak freely, listened without judgment, and reassured them that safety was now real, not imagined. One evening, Lyra approached Alara. "Captain, the past, it scares us. We have been hurt so many times. How do we know humans will not betray us too?" Alara knelt beside her. "You don't know, but you can see us act every day. We feed you, heal you, work alongside you. Every choice we make is proof. Trust is built slowly, but it grows, and we will not stop no matter what the galaxy says." Lyra nodded slowly, eyes glimmering with hope. I want to believe." In the quiet night, humans and Zithurians stood together, watching the twin moons rise over Terra Nova. The colony shone as a symbol of cooperation and courage, a place where the rejected could find hope, and the compassionate could demonstrate strength. Alara, standing on a balcony overlooking the encampment, spoke softly to herself. "The galaxy may have turned away, may have cast out those who were innocent, but here, we are different. Humanity will act where others hesitate. And in doing so, we will shine a light even in the darkest corners of the universe." The discovery of the framed records gave the Zithurians courage. They began to see the humans not only as saviors, but as champions willing to stand for justice. Together, they formed plans not just to defend themselves, but to reveal the truth to the rest of the galaxy, showing that the conquered's narrative was false. As the first stars of night glittered above, there was a sense of anticipation. Something was changing, not just on Terra Nova, but in the hearts of all who lived there. The seeds of trust and courage were growing, and humanity's choice to act with empathy was beginning to ripple outward, challenging the judgments of an indifferent galaxy. Alara knew the challenges were far from over. The conquered might retaliate, and political pressure could escalate into conflict. But she also knew that humanity had already proven something remarkable, that compassion, courage, and ingenuity could stand against fear and injustice. And for the Zithurians, this truth was life-changing. They had been betrayed before, abandoned and exiled. But now, with humans beside them, they could begin to imagine a future where they were safe, valued, and free to rebuild their lives. The shadows of the past were still present, but they no longer dominated every moment. With humans acting as allies, protectors, and friends, the Zithurians began to feel something they had not felt in years: hope. And in that hope lay the power to change everything. The tranquility of Terra Nova was shattered one morning by a sudden, sharp alarm. Sensors detected an approaching fleet of sleek, black ships. The galactic conquered had arrived, their numbers far greater than the colony's defenses. Captain Alara Voss stood on the command deck of the Horizon, her jaw tight with determination. "All units, prepare for engagement. This is not a retreat. Humanity will protect those who cannot protect themselves." Lieutenant Malik nodded. They're heavily armed, Captain. We can't match them ship for ship. Alara's gaze swept across the stars. No, but we can outthink them. Humanity has something they underestimate: creativity, adaptability, and courage. The Zithurians gathered nearby, anxious but resolute. Orion, the elder leader, stepped forward. Captain Voss, we do not wish for bloodshed, but if the conquered attacks, we will stand beside you. Alara placed a reassuring hand on Orion's shoulder. And we will stand beside you. Together, we are stronger than they expect. Humans and Zithurians worked side by side to prepare defenses. Human engineers modified Zithurian ships with quick repairs, while Zithurian scientists shared advanced energy shields and propulsion enhancements. Humans taught strategies based on unpredictability, knowing that the conquered relied heavily on rigid tactics. By the time the conquered fleet reached orbit, Terra Nova was ready, not to outgun but to outsmart. The first strike came swiftly. Conquered ships unleashed energy beams toward the colony, testing defenses. Zithurian shields absorbed the initial blasts, but human-controlled countermeasures began to redirect energy in unexpected patterns, confusing the attackers. Alara commanded the fleet from the horizon, issuing rapid, unconventional orders. Divide and flank. Draw them into the asteroid field. Use the terrain. Humans and Zithurians piloted their ships in tight formation, weaving through the asteroids with agility that surprised the conquered forces. Beams missed their targets, and conquered ships collided with debris, forcing a temporary retreat. Meanwhile, back on the ground, Dr. Anya Wren coordinated emergency shelters and medical teams. Civilians moved safely into reinforced structures, guided by both human and Zithurian personnel. Children watched in awe as their protectors, both species, demonstrated courage and skill beyond imagination. Despite the intensity of the battle, the humans maintained a moral compass. They avoided unnecessary destruction, focused on defending rather than attacking, and made every effort to minimize casualties. Their strategy relied not just on technology, but on discipline, creativity, and empathy. During a brief lull in the conflict, Alara transmitted a message to the conquered fleet. Your accusations are false. The Zithurians were framed. They are innocent. We are not your enemies. Do not force us to act against you. The message was met with silence. Then, unexpectedly, one of the conquered ships attempted to retreat. A human technician intercepted a coded transmission, revealing that some officers had begun doubting the official story after learning of the falsified evidence. Humanity's courage in defending the Zithurians was already influencing the conquered, planting seeds of doubt. The battle intensified. Humans and Zithurians devised new tactics in real time, combining human unpredictability with Zithurian precision. One Zithurian ship, piloted by Lyra, maneuvered through a narrow gap between two massive conquered vessels, using her ship's energy pulse to disable their systems temporarily. Humans followed quickly, exploiting the opening to force the fleet back. Amid the chaos, Orion addressed the Zithurians. Do not fear. Humans have chosen to protect us not out of power but out of compassion. Stand firm, for we fight not for dominance but for justice. The words inspired Zithurians to greater courage. They coordinated attacks with humans, using defensive formations to protect key points of the colony while targeting weak spots in the conquered fleet. Slowly, the attackers began to retreat, their rigid tactics no longer effective against the combined ingenuity of two species united by trust and shared purpose. Alara took a moment to review the battle from the command deck. They underestimated us, she murmured. They thought we would fear, falter, or flee, but we do not. We protect those who cannot protect themselves, and that makes us stronger than any fleet of the conquered. As the conquered ships disengaged, a new development occurred. A human diplomat activated a broadcasting array, transmitting the evidence of the Zithurians' innocence across the galaxy. The falsified records, hidden communications, and proof of deliberate framing were shared openly, leaving little room for denial. Across the galaxy, other races watched. Some were shocked, some angry, but many were inspired. Humanity had not only defended the Zithurians, but also revealed the truth, standing firmly for justice despite the risks. Back on Terra Nova, celebrations were muted but heartfelt. Humans and Zithurians alike shared relief and gratitude. The battle had tested them, and they had proven that cooperation, intelligence, and courage could overcome even the greatest threats. Orion approached Alara once more. "You have not only saved us, Captain Voss, but you have changed the course of our lives. We owe you everything." Alara shook her head. "You do not owe us anything. Humanity did what any decent people would do. You were in need, and we chose to act, that is all." Lyra, standing nearby, looked up at the stars with wide eyes. "The galaxy may finally see that not all humans are selfish or weak. You fight not for power, but for what is right." Alara smiled faintly. "That is our strength. That is what makes humanity human." In the days that followed, humans and Zethurians began to rebuild the colony together. Damaged ships were repaired, defenses strengthened, and resources shared more efficiently. The trust between the species deepened, forming bonds that no battle could break. Even the children learned from this experience. They played games that combined human creativity with Zethurian technology, laughing and learning from one another. They were the living proof of a future where differences were not a source of conflict, but a source of strength. Yet Alara remained vigilant. The conquered, though temporarily repelled, could return. Political tensions lingered. But for now, the people of Terra Nova celebrated unity, courage, and the belief that doing what is right could shine a light even in the darkest corners of the galaxy. In a quiet moment, Alara reflected on the journey. From the moment the Zethurians' ships drifted near human space, through fear, mistrust, and uncertainty, to this victorious stand, humanity had proven its worth not through power or conquest, but through empathy, ingenuity, and courage. And as the twin moons rose over Terra Nova, their soft light reflected on human and Zethurian faces alike, reminding everyone that the galaxy could reject some, but humanity would always open its arms. The conquered's fleet had been beaten, the truth revealed, and hope restored. But more than that, a new bond had been forged, one that could withstand fear, prejudice, and even the weight of a galaxy that had once turned away. For Terra Nova and for humanity, this was more than victory. It was a promise. A promise that the oppressed would find sanctuary, the innocent would find justice, and those who were rejected could find family among humans willing to stand beside them, no matter the cost. And so, under the shining stars, humans and Zethurians stood together, not as conquerors or victims, but as allies, friends, and equals. The galaxy had tried to reject them, but humanity had opened its arms, and in doing so had begun to change the universe. The battle over Terra Nova had passed, leaving behind a landscape marked by effort, endurance, and shared victories. Humans and Zethurians alike worked tirelessly to repair damaged structures, restore resources, and rebuild trust, not only among themselves, but with the galaxy at large. Captain Alara Voss walked through the colony, observing humans and Zethurians collaborating seamlessly. Children laughed together while learning both human games and Zethurian traditions. Engineers taught Zethurians to improve energy systems, while Zethurians shared advanced technology for communication and medical care. The air was filled with hope, curiosity, and a sense of possibility. "Look at them," Dr. Anya Wren said, smiling. "They're learning from each other, and yet they respect their differences. This is more than survival, it's growth." Alara nodded. "This is exactly why we chose to protect them. It's not just about saving lives. It's about showing the galaxy what cooperation can achieve." The Zethurian leaders convened a council with human authorities to discuss the future. Orion, Lyra, and several elders spoke openly about the challenges they had faced and their hopes for the future. "We were cast out," Orion said solemnly. "The galaxy saw us as failures. But here, with humans, we have learned something new. We are not defined by the judgments of others. We are defined by our actions and by those who stand with us." Alara stepped forward. "Humanity believes in giving second chances, in helping those who have been wronged. The galaxy may reject, betray, or judge, but we will not. What matters is courage, compassion, and the choice to act rightly." Lyra spoke next, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "I was afraid when we arrived. We had lost hope. But now I see that trust can grow, and that courage can come from unity. Humans and Zethurians, we can build something better together." The council agreed on several key initiatives. Humans and Zethurians would continue to share technology, knowledge, and cultural practices. The colony would serve as a hub for cooperation, demonstrating to the galaxy that species could coexist peacefully and productively. And most importantly, they would ensure that no one, regardless of race or origin, would ever be rejected or abandoned again in the sector. While the council met, a transmission arrived from the galactic Concord. There was no threat this time. Instead, they demanded an explanation for the recent conflict and requested access to the evidence proving the Zethurians' innocence. Alara calmly responded, transmitting the data she and Dr. Wren had gathered. The falsified records, hidden communications, and proof of deliberate framing were sent openly. Within hours, messages from Concord officials flooded in, some skeptical, some apologetic, and some grudgingly admiring humanity's courage. "This is just the beginning," Dr. Wren said. "Some may resist change, but many will see that justice was restored here because humans chose to act with integrity." The next weeks were filled with both work and celebration. Terra Nova grew vibrant as humans and Zethurians integrated more deeply. Schools and learning centers were established, blending human teaching methods with Zethurian wisdom. Medical facilities improved through combined technology, and energy systems became more efficient thanks to Zethurian design enhanced by human adaptability. Even the arts flourished. Zethurian music with its haunting harmonies blended with human instruments, creating new sounds that no one had heard before. Paintings, sculptures, and stories merged the cultures, teaching both species to appreciate different perspectives while building unity. Alara walked through a garden where human children and Zethurian youths played together. Lyra sat nearby, sketching the scene in her holographic tablet. "Look at them," she said softly. This is the future, not the galaxy that rejected us, but the one we are creating together." Alara smiled. "Yes, Lyra. And it's only possible because humanity chose to act when others turned away. That choice makes all the difference." As the months passed, Terra Nova became a symbol of hope. Word spread to neighboring systems, drawing attention from races curious about this unusual collaboration. Envoys came, some to study, some to learn, and others to question humanity's methods. Every visitor witnessed the strength of unity, the courage of standing for what is right, and the transformative power of empathy. Orion, once cautious and withdrawn, now walked proudly among the humans. He addressed the Zethurians openly, encouraging them to embrace the new life they had been given. "We were rejected," he said, "but we have found allies who saw our value when others did not. That is something no power, no fleet, no judgment of the galaxy can take away." Even the Concord sent representatives to negotiate, acknowledging the falsification of records and extending cautious apologies. Though some officials remained rigid, the majority began to accept the truth. Humanity had not only protected the innocent, but had restored justice where it had been denied. Alara and Dr. Wren worked together to establish a permanent council between humans and Zethurians, ensuring that cooperation, understanding, and mutual respect would continue. Policies were drafted to prevent discrimination, to encourage learning and exchange, and to defend against any future threats. On a quiet evening, Alara stood with Lyra on a hill overlooking the colony. The twin moons reflected off the water of a newly constructed lake, illuminating the thriving settlement below. "Do you think the galaxy will ever truly understand?" Lyra asked. Alara considered this. "Some may never understand, but that does not matter. What matters is what we do, not whether everyone approves. We have shown what is possible when courage meets compassion. That is enough to change the world one step at a time." Lyra smiled, her luminous eyes reflecting hope. "Then I believe in that world because I see it here." Alara watched the children playing, humans and Zethurians together, learning, laughing, and imagining a future free from fear. She knew that challenges would come, political pressures, misunderstandings, and external threats, but she also knew that the bond formed here was stronger than any adversity. The final message from the Concord arrived days later. It was brief but significant: acknowledgement of Zethurian's innocence and a formal request to negotiate peaceful relations in the sector. Humanity's actions had forced the galaxy to reconsider, and the precedent was clear. Courage, empathy, and integrity could stand against fear, injustice, and prejudice. Terra Nova became more than a refuge, it became a model. News spread throughout neighboring systems about humans who had chosen to embrace the rejected, turning fear into opportunity, mistrust into alliance, and danger into hope. Alara reflected on the journey, From the first moment, Zethurians drifted near human space to this day of reconciliation and celebration. Humanity had acted not out of obligation, but out of moral strength, the hallmark of their species. And in doing so, they had changed lives, built alliances, and proven that true power lay not in domination, but in the courage to do what is right. Orion approached her once more, the oldest and wisest among the Zethurians. "Captain Voss, your people have done more than protect us. You have shown that humanity's heart is strong, even when the galaxy's heart is weak. We owe you more than words can express." Alara shook her head gently. "No debt is owed. Just remember this, what we do defines us. Protect, nurture, and stand for what is right. That is the path of humanity. You have walked it with us, and now you will carry it forward as well." As the sun rose over Terra Nova, casting warm light over the colony, humans and Zethurians alike felt a sense of unity and purpose. They had survived betrayal, faced threats from one of the galaxy's most powerful organizations, and forged bonds that transcended fear and prejudice. Children ran through fields where flowers from both Earth and Zethurian worlds bloomed together. Engineers and scientists exchanged ideas freely. Leaders discussed policy, culture, and future missions. And above all, there was a sense of peace, of trust, and of hope, a hope that the galaxy had once denied but that humanity had restored. Alara looked toward the horizon, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also the lightness of achievement. The journey had been perilous, but the result was extraordinary, a shining example of what could be accomplished when courage, empathy, and ingenuity were combined. "The galaxy may reject," she whispered to herself, "but humanity will always open its arms." And with that simple truth, a new era began, not just for Terra Nova, not just for humans and Zethurians, but for the galaxy as a whole. One where courage and compassion proved stronger than fear, where alliances could be built across the stars, and where those who were once rejected could finally find a home. The future was bright, filled with promise, discovery, and the certainty that humanity, standing united with those they chose to protect, could shape the universe into a place where hope was never lost, and where no one would ever stand alone again.